Welcome to Life Support Live, the weekly show that explores how Star Trek can help us to boldly go in our own lives to better ourselves and the rest of humanity.
Wow, Patrick Stewart could not have said it better himself. Wow, yes, because that is exactly what a famous starship captain once said. And as another famous starship captain once said, wherever we go, we will try to have. Wherever our mission takes us, we will try to have a little fun along the way.
I think it might be time to start calling it our continuing mission, Larry. It might be time for that. Hello, everyone. I am psychologist Dr. Ali Mathieu.
And I am Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek. One of us is a real doctor.
And we've been leaving it to you now for 1 year to determine who that might be. And Larry, no one has figured it out yet. Larry, happy anniversary. It's our 1 year anniversary.
You shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Did you get me anything, Ollie?
I did. I got you a unreleased episode of Star Trek that came out in the 80s. What did I get you? I made you this beautiful drawing right over here of Earth because we are all together.
Yes.
Going through this. No, I don't know. My daughter made this. I don't know what this
is. It's just a big white and green marble or something. That's
what we've got a really special episode for you all today. Larry, I think this is today the conclusion of season 1, or is this the beginning of season 2 of Life Support Live?
Oh, you and your philosophical, ethical questions. I can't keep up. I think it's the beginning of season 2.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Because it's 53, so 52 weeks would be a year, even though I'm amazed that we took some weeks off, but yet we have, I don't know, I forget what we did, but we're still here.
I think
for the duration.
I think that makes sense. Beginning of season 2, we're doing some fun stuff today. We're in honor of our anniversary. We're thinking about anniversaries and beginnings, and we're going back to the very beginning of all of this, which is what, Larry?
What a great idea that is, Ollie. Since we're celebrating our beginnings, we thought we would celebrate the beginnings of Star Trek with The Cage, the first pilot, which was not aired outside the Desilu screening room in probably about 36 colleges around the country for many years until about 1988. And then the world, and I kept one old VHS tape because it's probably on YouTube by now, but I didn't know where. I've got one original Columbia House tape of the black and white and color split version of The Cage when it was first, released to the public, but they didn't have a color reel, they thought. And then within 2 years, they found an intact color print. So yes, so it's only been listen to this. It's only been since the late 80s we had this out for people.
Ooh. Larry, when you turn in this direction, I can hear your lovely voice so much better. Pull that mic in closer. I need.
Is it really that much of a difference?
Okay. Yeah, pull it in closer. It sounds so silky smooth. There we go.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're going to be both visible in shot. Okay.
Larry, check it out. Scott is noticing we're both in Life Support Live Blue. That was totally planned and coordinated, folks.
It was. I'm so in teal. Notice how I'm totally, which is green when I turn the light off. So I'm right up there with Canon blue, science
and
blue.
And Larry, seriously, that is Star Trek regulation. Nathaniel is saying, my money is on Larry being the real doctor, and Stephen Nemecek says,
"Oh my gosh!
Great haircut, Uncle Larry."
Yes, Mountain Man has died, maybe for good, after the pandemic year. My guy was back doing his hair. My normal guy was back doing his hair. So yes, it was a 1 year, and actually it was like 14 months without him. I got by 3 times, but you can tell.
And yeah. Charlotte says, "Ollie's eyes are naked." Yes, they are. Charlotte, I was looking at my box of contacts this morning, and I realized I haven't really been wearing them because of the pandemic, and they're about to expire soon. So
really?
I need to wear those contacts.
You got to use them up.
I got to use them up, and I thought, what better occasion than our special anniversary?
Got to find them all.
Got to find them all. Contacts in your eyes. Christoph says, Ali, with TOS, it was always a 5-year mission. Oh boy, Larry, we're at a log haul then. It's going to be.
I'm just trying to. I hope should we start talking about spin-off and sequel ideas? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, Life Support Live: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, Life
There you
Support Live: Deep Bunker 9.
Deep K3. Yeah. Okay. Has to be something with a number in it. Yeah, and then.
Oh man. Well, before we get to folks,
it is good to see everybody. Yay! Thank you for
Yes.
being with us. I can
Yes.
talk. I can see a chat. We were bouncing around some tech ideas, but Ollie, we should say that
Yes.
we're going to watch The Cage, and
Yes.
as always, our setup is BYOM.
Yes.
Bring your own media. So I hope everybody has got The Cage of choice queued up and ready to go with us in a few minutes.
And we've got a question from Phil. Phil says, "I take it we're watching."
Phil, another question, really? No, I'm kidding.
Phil says, "I take it we're watching the regular version and not the extended version available on Blu-ray." I have no idea, Larry. Well, Larry, I'm watching what's on Netflix because it's easy to do the streaming setup and have that. But there's multiple versions, and of course, there's multiple versions.
I know there's the original cut of Where No Man. So I just want to make sure we're all in the. Okay, I'm going to say that's a new one on me, but maybe it's something I do know about. Okay, if there's
just make sure it's not a double dumbass on you. That would be a problem.
The classics. Okay. Yes.
And folks, we're on our way here. Nathaniel says, "Does Life Support Live the animated series come next?" I would love that.
I don't know. You can't get much more animated than this. So
if it's followed by Life Support Live, the motion picture, I am totally on board with that. I think that would be. Or Scott says Life Support Live Phase 2. Yeah, we're going to start production on that, but we're probably going to cancel it.
I've got about 6 sets I'm working on now that I can stop building.
Glenn says The Cage is 1 hour and 3 on Amazon Prime, and it should be almost identical everywhere. And then also Rebecca says it's 1 hour and 3 on Netflix UK too. Scott's saying, I think the extended version includes the Gene intros from the 80s broadcast, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're not doing... why have a Gene Roddenberry intro when you can get Dr. Trek and Dr. Ali introing the show?
That would be Life Support: The Wrath of Skype or something.
The Wrath of Skype. Oh yeah, the Wrath of Microsoft for sure. So Larry, before we get to The Cage, I just want to take a moment and say, we're 1 year in here. Officially, we launched our first episode was on. I just wrote it down here. It was on April 18th, 2020. And we launched with a 1 hour long special looking, was it an hour? I don't know. It was more than an hour. Looking at Jean-Luc Picard, his whole life, and looking at the role of trauma.
Well, it was our WonderCon panel
we
were going to do. Yeah.
Yeah. It was our WonderCon panel turned into this. And what's so cool is now, a year later, so much has changed and so much has stayed the same. The format of the show is still the same. Like, we haven't really changed much.
We haven't changed a thing.
No. But what's so different is recognizing all the names of all of the lifers here and really the community that's come up. I
mean, I was going to say what's different is we have all these glib catchphrases, but also we have a great community. And yes, I when you start, seriously, I've done this with Portal 47. I've done this with Tuesday Live. When you start off, I say this kiddingly, you think it's all about you, but I mean, it's all about you, us, and like, what are we going to do for them? It's like point to point, right? It's like what am I going to do? What are the cookies I'm going to bake? What are the pies I'm going to bake and put out on my shelf and all that? What you don't think about is all the people that come by one, and then in groups come by and tell you how much they love your cookies and your pies. And then people start yelling that you should put out more tables so they can sit around and talk to each other while they like your pies and cookies. And anyway, I'm taking my business coach's restaurant metaphor here for business all the way. But yeah, what you don't think about is you're so into your head trying to figure out what you want to deliver that you forget that you're eventually, if you do it right, hopefully, you're going to have a bunch of happy people who are all happy with each other eventually because they all found the same place to hang out. So yes, the thing that I never think about until it pops up in my face is our community. and our lifers group is so amazing. And it's good to see somebody. It's always good to see new names and new faces, and hopefully they stick around and become an old hand, or a senior veteran. But but yeah, we have an awesome, and it's so great that so many of you all have. In fact, actually, it's gotten weird. The last 2, 3, 4 weeks, I've had a lot of you have written me totally on the side to say, by the way, we really enjoy, or I really enjoy that.
Yeah, same
and
here.
that's amazing to me. So, I mean,
I never anticipated that, Larry. There's a lot
in fact,
I didn't
just stop
anticipate.
it. Just stop it right now. No,
That's it. Let's just wrap it up. Like we're done. No,
not you, them. Let's just talk to each other for an hour and then...
help me, help you, help me, Larry. Well, there's so many things I didn't expect. I didn't expect this pandemic to go on this long. Like I'm always blown away when I reread some of the messages that I wrote back in March and April of last year. In a few weeks, when things are back to normal, let's reschedule this. That was a lot of emails I sent.
Yeah.
And those things have never been rescheduled. So I never anticipated that.
You were such a naive waif. I knew it would be the holidays at least.
I thought maybe a season. And maybe in the summer it'll all just kind of die out. But, I didn't anticipate things going this long. I didn't anticipate our show going this long as a result, too. I didn't anticipate the community, the consistent community coming back and recognizing all of these same names and getting to know people just through this. That has been just unbelievable to me. I've never done anything like this before, like this kind of consistent live stream with this community. So that has been just absolutely wonderful. And then Larry, there's hope, and
I'm glad you found something in your life for consistency. I'm glad that you found something stable that you can hang on to.
Hey, these days I'll take whatever I get. I'll take whatever stability I can get, Larry.
Those wife, those kids, they just come and go. Those patients, those practices,
Well, I love this comment from Heidi. Heidi says, in 20 to 30 years, we'll get Life Support Live, the next generation. And then Charlotte says, and Dr. Ali's daughter will host. And then Charlotte says, and it'll be Ali knocking on her door, and she'll ignore it. Yes, That is absolutely what would happen.
It's my dad.
Sweetie, can I join the holographic projection stream, please? No, you had your chance.
She'll say, hold up, everyone. It's tough childing, but eventually he'll go away.
Yeah, right. Right.
Sometimes childing is tough.
And she'll let me on for a guest appearance once. And I'll say, how much time do you give your co-host to prepare? And she'll say, oh, well, 5 hours. And I'm like, in my day, laddie, I gave Larry 5 minutes to prepare for the episode. Which is actually kind of true.
5 minutes the night before. But anyway, yeah.
And Larry, we've got some hope now for a better. You're 50% vaccinated. I got my vaccine this week. I'm 50% vaccinated, and at the same time, so much of the world, only 10 countries out of the whole world have had any shots in arms. We have a long way to go.
Yeah.
So there's
and for those of you in the community who are around the world, and we've got all our regulars and maybe even some new folks. It's like I've gone from thinking the U.S. is like the idiot stick of the world to now realizing that we're getting things ahead of a lot of other countries, and some like Africa and a lot of Asia is way behind the rest of the world even. And so anyway, we talk about getting our shots in arms, and I realize that when we have a global audience, that may sound a little. We've been through. Everybody's gone through a lot, so I just want to put that out there too. That I realize a lot of people are anxiously waiting for their chance.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we have a lot of lunkheads here in the States who are not availing themselves of their opportunities.
That's just that's a evergreen statement if I've ever heard one. We've got a lot of lunkheads here. Tim says, Dr. Ali with his Pakistani sounding Mr. Scott. Absolutely. As I age, I anticipate my Pakistani heritage blending together with a Scottish heritage as well. Fun fact, I think I've mentioned this
Canadian
on the show
Scottish
before.
or something.
Yeah.
You're talking about Jimmy Doolins. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but bagpipes are incredibly popular in Pakistan, and Pakistan is a massive producer of bagpipes. This is a true story. Yeah. So bagpipes are often played at a lot of Pakistani weddings.
Wow,
So,
look at us get educational here on Life Support.
hey, speaking of our community, Larry. So the community's done something, and we have no idea what this thing is. So
Oh no. What's all
So-
this then?
Jared's been up to something, and it's probably up to no good. Because Jared is usually up to too much good. Jared and
I thought
Scott,
Jared was spending all of his time vaccinating people, speaking of which.
he is, in addition to vaccinating, I think like all of America. I think every Saturday for the last few weeks, Jared just goes across country just putting vaccines in arms. I think that's what he's been doing.
Sometimes he even uses needles. But okay.
Yeah. Usually it's hyposprays.
Okay.
But hyposprays are hard to come by right now. Pfizer has a shortage of hyposprays. But he and the community have been making something. I don't know. So Jared sent me something, and he said, "Do not play this until Saturday on the show.
Do not
play it
open until
live.
anniversary day.
Do not
Okay.
open till anniversary show." So I have no idea what it is. You have no idea what it is. I've got it queued up. I don't know if anyone else has seen this, but just to acknowledge before we get started, thank you to Jared and Scott for being our moderators on the community for so long. Thank you. Scott does a lot of our Scott does our podcast editing. It's all thanks to him. And then Jared does a lot of post-show feed cleanup, getting images and thumbnails and all that stuff kind of good to go. So I have no idea what we're in for, Larry.
And now he's apparently done something else. So okay.
So I'm gonna just cue things up, and I'm not gonna play it yet. Hopefully, the plan here is for a picture-in-picture. Folks, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna play this, and hold on, let me move us here into this corner so that I can still put the comments up. Scott saying I'm not saying I've seen it, but I'm not saying I haven't seen it. All right, Scott.
Nothing but utmost honesty here at Life Support.
Mystery man of mystery. All right, so picture in picture is working. We got our wonderful 1990s technology here still working. All right, so
Hey.
Larry,
I wish I'd had this in the 90s.
I
Okay,
know. I always was jealous of my friends who had picture in picture. In retrospect, I think it's only good for sports, really. Yeah. Anyways, that's a tangent. All right, folks, I'm going to play this. I'm going to count down and play this. Again, we'll be reacting in real time. I have no idea what we're about to see, but let's see what happens in 3, 2, 1, engage.
Wait, are we starting over?
I know, it's our theme song. 1. We Look at
Uh,
us. Live. Look how
Oh,
Hello,
innocent
everyone.
we were.
I am
Look, we were
Dr.
babies.
Alima too,
Oh,
and I
you
am
guys.
here with my good friend,
Look at
Dr.
that
Trek,
video lag
Larry
and audio
Nemechek.
lag.
Larry, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good, Ollie. This
Oh
is
my God.
exciting. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, and it's good to see everyone here on
This is bizarre
Facebook,
to
on
see
YouTube, and on Twitch.
It was good to see anyone. Of course,
Hi,
maybe,
Daniel. Welcome. Welcome back. Oh no, I'm sure there's some tech error. This is the first episode of Life Support Live. I am clinical psychologist Dr. Ali Matu, who just knocked over his mic, and you are also seeing Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek. Larry,
Yes,
what
one of
are...
us is a real doctor.
That's right. We will leave it to you to decide which one.
that audio lag kills me.
So this is the weekly show where we
Oh, we did
explore
switch
Star
sides.
Trek and
Yeah, yeah.
how it can help us to boldly go.
I wanted it to match the logo. If you're talking to me, I'm not hearing much. You're getting drowned out. Okay, this is going to be the blooper of the...
Oh, God. He's coming. Folks, he's coming. He'll be here very soon. Larry's going to be right here.
Dum da dum 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 da dum dum dum
almost here.
dum da da dum.
Oh
Dum,
my
dum,
God.
da, dum,
In deference
dum,
to
dum,
our younger audience, I didn't go with the
dum,
50s
da,
George
da, da,
Reeves
da,
Superman. I went with Christopher Reeve.
da.
The best
Glenn
theme
says
song.
this is like South Park. You keep killing Larry and he keeps coming back.
Oh man, Glenn.
I have
With the
audio here.
quips.
Yeah, but we can't see you, Larry.
It's interesting.
That's one word to
Wait for
describe
it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I'm just gonna keep talking while you
When we
are
realize-
figuring that out. Yeah. So, folks,
My God, they're forming.
Personal sacrifice, Larry. I don't remember this episode at all. I have no idea what we talked about.
You put it out of your head. I think what it was my Skype is set to come on automatically, and I always have to hit the camera button.
Hey!
Hi, Larry. Hi, Ali.
Oh.
Dr. Trek and Dr. Matu. Just want to give you guys a shout out.
Oh,
It's coming up on a year anniversary for Life Support Live. That's really hard to believe that it's been that long. It's been a long pandemic. It's been a long 4 years besides that. But thank you so much for this connection every week. A lot of us have made friends offline now, not just online during Life Support Live on Saturday. And that's been just really nice to meet some new Star Trek friends because I really don't have many in real life. So really enjoy my connections online. I like how talking about a theme every week helps me go through my kind of feeble memory these days to the different series and different episodes and different characters.
We all have
trying
a
to find
feeble
that connection.
memory,
That's been really nice. And of course, you can never get too much of Trek, so that talking about Trek every week is great. But anyways, thank you so much for doing this for us. We really, really appreciate this connection. Has meant so much over the past year. So I hope you guys keep it up and hope to see you every week on Saturday. Thanks. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Linda. Scott!
Dr. Trek, Dr. Ali, Dr. Nematu, both real doctors in my book.
Dr. Nemeth.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you do for Life Support Live. Thank you for creating it. Thank you for keeping it going. Thank you so much for giving your time to all of us. It's a real honor for me to have any association with it at all. It would have been perfectly fine and fun for me to just keep watching every week, but I'm very happy to be to have any hand in it at all. You guys are both really great, and I just have to say the idea of a show that's part mental health and part Star Trek is just both halves of my brain. It's a really good thing. So again, thank you so much.
It's
Happy
crazy.
anniversary,
It's crazy.
and we are all very happy to spend a couple hours with you every Saturday. Thanks again.
Thank you, Scott. And I love those
Dr.
models in
Ali,
the
Dr.
back.
Trek.
Charlotte!
As
Oh,
usual,
hi.
I was late to the party. I didn't discover Life Support Live until I think October. After 6 months, the pandemic was finally
Shame
starting
on
to
you.
get to me. And then there y'all were.
Oh,
Every Saturday, coaching us through impossible circumstances, using that lens we all know and love.
Oh, you guys.
Star Trek. I honestly don't know where I'd be right now if I hadn't discovered y'all and the Life Support Live community. There really aren't enough words in either the English or Klingon dictionary to express what y'all mean to me.
Klingon.
So I will just say thank
Aw.
you.
Oh,
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
thank you, Charlotte.
Live long.
Well, thank
and
you, Charlotte.
prosper.
You're really welcome.
it's great to see everybody's face.
Hey docs, it's
Jared!
Jared. I just wanted to add my voice to those who have been on here today talking about how great Life Support Live has been for the last year. If you would have told me early last year that I would have joined a Star Trek mental health online community, I would have thought you were crazy. If you would have told me that I would have created a drinking game that became so popular that was part of tie-in branded merchandise for that same club, I would have really thought you were insane. If you would have told me that I would spent my year tracking down obscure parts of the country to plan retreats, yeah, I'd have been buying you drinks at that point. But still, thank you for everything. It's been a blast, and let's keep going for the duration.
Libby!
Hey, Dr. Ali and Dr. Larry, thank you so much for Life Support Live. It's kind of lonely when you live by yourself and are high risk, so can't get out and about, or maybe are on quarantine, which I was at one point. Luckily, it was negative. But every Saturday I have something to look forward to. I'm not going to be alone for 2 hours. I'm going to visit a consuite, even if it is virtual, and get to talk about Star Trek and life and maybe have a snack with friends. I've loved reconnecting with some old friends and especially making all the new friends who I can't wait to meet in person someday. And I know some of us will. And we're going to be lifelong friends. How amazing is that? And it's just a tough time around the world. And yet we have Life Support Live. We can still talk Star Trek. It's the next big thing to a convention. I thank you because I know this takes time out of your life with your families. And there's probably some Saturdays, there's things you'd rather be doing. But you put up with us Saturday after Saturday. Thank you very much. And kapla, y'all.
Kapla.
Kapla. Aw, you guys and
Larry.
gals, you people.
Larry.
Yeah, I did not expect that a year ago.
No, I didn't expect that a week ago.
And Charlotte was talking about being, was it Charlotte, I think, said she felt ashamed for only finding us in October? I just wanted to think, what about that other like 3.5 billion people? What's their excuse?
yeah, I know.
think how guilty they're going to feel when they finally show up. No.
Oh, man.
Wow, you guys.
Yeah, that was...
our peeps.
That was so sweet and so lovely. Thank you. I'm assuming Jared probably organized that. Thank you, Jared, for organizing that.
I saw either Linda keeps her Christmas tree up all year or you've been working on that for a while.
I think so. Yeah. I think, given how time's working nowadays, it could be either. It could be all of the above. Who knows? But I think Glinda says it best here. I love you all so much right now, and I feel the same way. To everyone who's in the video, thank you. To everyone who's here live right now, thank you, and to everyone who's sending us messages back channel, thank you too. It's just just so
the
lovely.
Word for it, back channel.
Yeah,
we don't say personal messages anymore.
I think Jared just sent a message as a moderator saying, hey, from Vaccine Central. Thank you, Jared, for putting this all together. This is really lovely. And I just love seeing the little bits of Star Trek through people's videos, Larry. Just seeing all the little cool Star Trek stuff. That's so
little
cool.
Star Trek things around the edges.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to top that, Larry. That was a great watch-along, actually.
That was. I'll stop with that one, guys, gals. I'm looking. I'm way behind in the chat as usual, and we're gonna, we'll start the show and we'll even be behind. But I like Cairo's comment. You're talking about sequels. Did you see where Cairo said the animated? If we have an animated series, that means it has to come after we have a not quite so good third season.
Yes. Yeah. We'll have an episode called Larry's Brain, where we're just gonna dissect Larry's brain. That's
have
it.
a cheap little prop that goes. Yeah.
Speaking of props, I brought, for some reason, I was gonna do a gag, Larry. I was gonna do a gag involving my communicator, and I forgot to do it.
What were you gonna do?
I don't know. I was gonna think of something like, I was gonna say like, hey, we got
We'll just do it on the run. We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. I was gonna, oh man, and I'm not even, I'm off my game.
Are you doing it? Because I can get my old one up here too.
Let me see.
It's got dust on it, but
Well, I'm sure they all do.
The inner ring needs to, the insides came undone, but I need to redo the ring.
Yours has been through a few away missions.
Mine has been through a few away missions on top of the shelf. It's a little dusty. I was hoping if I flipped it up, we'd have this dust cloud or something pop up. But yeah.
Kyra saying, "Wow, that's a nice tiny communicator."
Enterprise, come in, Enterprise,
Tiny.
Enterprise. This is the Kirk disgusted at his failing technology and dangerous situation voice. Kirk, Enterprise to Kirk. Come in, Enterprise.
Damn it,
And then
Larry! I'm a doctor, not a
Fake
streamer.
doctor, a doctor, not a streamer. Because the international Starfleet symbol of "I'm pissed at my failed technology" is you have to like dough. Enterprise, come in, Enterprise, come in. Captain, you're twisting the lights. Those aren't the dials, they're the lights.
That's good, Larry. You need to do more. You need to do more of that.
Do more of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Clop.
Louise says,
blind and paralyzed. Okay, sorry,
Larry
I'm
and
gonna start
Dr.
quoting
Ali,
Doomsday Machine if I don't look out. What?
I know I don't really participate here in the chattiness, but I do
hello,
love and
Louise.
appreciate the show each week, and think you guys and the community are fabulous. Thank you.
Okay,
Louise,
thank you, Louise. Yes, it's
we're happy
fine.
to have
Lurking
you.
is totally fine. Lurking
Yeah.
is totally fine. Yeah.
Lurking is awesome. I'm a big fan of lurkers when it comes to streaming. So thanks.
Never
for being
forget that great DS9 episode, Attention Bajoran Lurkers.
here. Attention, Bajoran lurkers. Larry, I think we've got we have another watch along to do here. So, folks, we'll give you a minute. Fire up Star Trek: The Cage. Now, if you're on Netflix, they list it as Series 1 of Star Trek, also known as Star Trek, also known as Star Trek: The Original Series, starring those old scientists. Season 1, Episode 1.
They do.
And now, Larry, it should be listed as Episode 0.
That's if people have done it. That's the way I thought made sense. But then again, it's like, are they doing aired order? Or are they doing production? I remember the day my mind was blown when I think it was in the giant poster book, and they ran a list of, because everyone knew the aired order, and if you had Bijo's Concordance, that was what she used, and that's what syndicated stations, if they did anything at all, they would run, if they cared, they would run them in aired order. But no one knew, and you had to be like an uber fan. The first time I saw that was in a story in the giant poster book, and it just blew my mind. Because you knew, and it was like, oh, that's why she's got a gold dress on randomly. It's like, it's not she decided to get up and wear a gold dress that day, Uhura. It was the first couple of shows. And yeah, and Where No Man's uniforms don't match. And then to find out that, I don't remember. Well, I guess when I read the book, it's the book. Don't make fun of the book. It's the making of Star Trek, when I first realized that the cage was cut up to be put into Menagerie, and it saved their ass one week when they were behind and all. I'm doing a mini K3 here. For anybody who doesn't know your 1966 Star Trek history by now, it's a mini K3. But yeah, so the pilot is by production order, it would be Episode 1. So people use the aired order so often that the pilot the cage was never aired until 1988. And people would say it was Episode 80 or something then. So
yeah, it's confusing. Christoph says the DVD and Blu-ray boxes usually have it on the last disc of the original series as a bonus feature. So hopefully you can
the VHS
find it.
Series did. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully you can find it somewhere. And while you're getting those queued up, Jamal was saying, "Happy anniversary, gentlemen! Congratulations!" And then we also have one of our oldest members here of the community, Rose. Hey, happy 1-year anniversary, Life Support Live! Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Ali, and Top Chat. I just want to say thanks. You're the best. Best wishes from everyone. From Rose. Thank you, Rose. Rose has been with us since the very beginning.
Yeah. I think, and we've got some others that have been with us from the very beginning too much. I love her comment, though, because when she talked about Top Chat, all I can think of is da-da-da-da-da-da Top Chat, da-da-da-da-da, the most sensational Top Chat, da-da-da-da. Okay, that was for all the old Hanna-Barbera Saturday morning jokes out there. Okay.
I love Hanna-Barbera cartoons, but I don't understand that reference.
Top Cat? It was the Alley Cats? It was like the Bowery Boys of Cats?
Now you're just digging yourself further into a hole.
Hey, JC! And Officer Dibble, and it was a takeoff on Hey, Officer, what's that from? What musical is that from?
I don't know what you're talking about, but it was a great opportunity for me to remember. I don't have my I don't have my badge on.
Maria.
So I will fix my badge.
Oh, okay.
And I am
Would somebody in the
a
chat
officer
please
again.
verify for Ollie that I'm not crazy? I'm not well, I might be crazy, but I'm not making this up about Top Cat and Benny and Choo Choo and
I'm
the
sure.
Cat
I
Gang.
believe you're not making
And
it
it had
up.
one of the all-time best theme songs, not just of Saturday morning, but of all television. Top Cat. Da-da-da-da. When I did a summer dinner theater, and we had a radio show, so we could get away with reading scripts because we were doing it so fast. And we made the station KTOP, K-Top, and we totally ripped off the Top Cat song. We did K-Top, da-da-da-da-da, the most sensational K-Top. Anyway.
Larry, let's see if anyone has any idea.
Let's see if
about
anybody's
what
going,
you're
when are
talking
they going
about.
to just watch The Cage and get on with it?
Glinda says, and Snagglepuss. And then
Snagglepuss was his own show, but
okay,
yes.
Rebecca is saying Ollie Top Cat is real. Okay, I believe you. And then
Somebody
Tim
would
says
put
Dr.
the
Ali
link
has
for
never
it.
heard of Boss Cat. Shocking. Zahir says OMG Choo Choo. Is that a reference?
That's one of the cats, and he'd call him Chooch for short. But yeah,
Okay.
it was Benny was the little short, kind of smart but dumb one.
Okay.
Hey, yeah.
Charlotte is on Team Ali here, saying, "I don't know Top Cat." Thank you, Charlotte, for being the voice of reason here. But then she says, "But I think Ali and I are about the same age." But so is Zahir. So that's not it's not an excuse.
I remember when my kids were young and Cartoon Network was first out, and they showed, and before they got commercial, they had their own cartoons that squeezed out the old, and they created Boomerang to show classic cartoons on. But I remember the first wave of Cartoon Network and thinking, now wait a minute, my kids are going to know like every generation of from classic Warner Brothers through, the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s now. That's not fair. It's like Star Trek. It's like you had to earn your stripes. It's like they're getting everything like a big buffet. That's not fair. And then later on I thought, like I did with Star Trek, oh, shut up. It's great that they're seeing all this classic stuff. But it's like, hey, you're stealing mine now. Anyway.
Now I feel like we should have a Top Cat watch along so I can understand what the heck you're talking about.
And and the background music was great, was jazz. Like they'd be walking on me. It was like early 60s cool jazz was their background theme music, their interstitials.
Okay, well, a lot of folks are remembering it. Glenn says, I remember that Top Cat existed, but I can't picture it in my mind at the moment. I'm guessing it wasn't one of my favorites. Okay, I'll YouTube Top Cat.
Star Trek.
Yeah, let's get back to Star Trek. All right, folks. Hopefully we've bought you enough time for you to get The Cage fired up, whatever version you're watching.
Plan.
Yes.
The Great Top Cat Diversion was all about letting you get queued up.
Now, that actually sounds like a Star Trek Discovery episode title. The Great Top Cat Diversion.
Or Big Bang Theory, one of the two.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully you have The Cage fired up and ready. We're going to do this watch along as we usually do, where it is BYOM, bring your own media. You're going to be watching it on your own. We're going to be providing the lovely Live Sport Live commentary that you've come to know and love over the past year. And then Larry, once we're done, we'll talk about the show some more as we kind of get to the end. Yeah.
So when we do these, we're out of typical format, but we do throw some little counselor's logs, and we throw K3s at you along the way. So
I love that Glenn is referring to you all as Top Catians. I don't know why that
not to be confused with Topcations.
Topcations, yeah. Or the Cetacean Institute.
Yes,
we don't want to get these. We don't want to get these things confused.
I was thinking cat to cat, but okay.
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
Okay, Maress, the animated felinoid cat.
Yes, alias. I know it. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
yes.
My God,
Woo, it's quite an episode
I was about
here.
to say,
folks.
do you have some kind of like anti-feline bow? You don't know Maress, you don't know Top Cat. I mean, how far? How much?
You know what I do know, Larry?
Yes.
As Koss is saying here, I know about. There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
Dum 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 dum. Yes.
I do know Undercat.
When
I mean,
Ollie's in
Undercat.
trouble, I am not slow. It's hip, 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 and away I go. Okay.
Underdog, not Undercat. I know Underdog. All right.
Hey, I made the Ollie Polly jump there. Did you catch that?
I did not catch that. I'm sorry.
I said, when Ollie's in trouble, I am not slow. So it's hip, 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 and away I go. Okay. We'll have to start the Saturday Morning Classic Animation podcast later, but for now we should get back to Star Trek.
Let's get back to Star Trek.
Okay.
Okay. So hopefully you all have Cage fired up and ready. If you don't by now, Glenn, Ollie has a cat reference allergy. I actually love cats. I love cats. I love dogs. I love cat. They're both great. I love how clean cats are and hygienic, and how they like to clean themselves, and they also take care of their own poop. I think that's kind of amazing. I think cats are really cool. All right, so let's get back to Star Trek.
And I'm seeing more people popping in, so this is great. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm probably way behind, but it's
Christoph says my disc players went to sleep. Waking it up right now. All right, wake it up, Christoph. Wake it up. Wake up that media player machine
Wake
you
up.
have.
Wake up. Okay.
I do have that. I do recognize that reference. Okay, so if you don't have your media ready, pause, get it ready, come back. If you do have your media ready, here we go. Larry, we're gonna do a 3, 2, 1 engage on your mark.
Okay, I'm going to do it again, not in Klingon. Okay. Okay, 3, 2, 1, engage.
All right. Larry, I haven't seen this episode in
now
a
here's what I
very
have
long
to
time.
do. I have to replug my earphones, so.
Okay. Well, there's a Starfield. We've got the Enterprise going by. We've got that famous
And the
theme here.
original happy music. Okay. And it's what's her name? Luli something is I fell over and died the day I got Bob Justman and Herb Solo's book, and they actually had the name of the woman that's doing the soprano in this. Luli May something. I've forgotten. It's a K2.5, folks. What can I say? Oh, here, the classic. Listen, they never did this again for billions of years. It's like you take it for granted. And yes, the turbo lift is offset from the hub at the back. Okay. First line of Star Trek. I reserved checkthecircuit.com years ago. Okay. Now, what I didn't realize when I was a kid, and you get it later on, that you think there's just 2 color uniforms. But the ops people have a tan. It's just hard to see it. But it gets the gold. The gold is still not green gold, but the way it really was.
Larry, was when this was first shown to executives, wasn't it around this time of year? It was like February 19...
Oh, I was going to say that. Yeah. So one thing about using this for our anniversary show was it's like, but it's not the Cage anniversary because but they showed it in March. They don't have a real good dating time for it. We haven't got the secretary's desk pad or whatever, but it was in February or March when they showed it. They screened it. Yeah.
And Larry, just let's make sure everyone's in sync. Can you give us a time check? How far into the episode are we?
I'm trying to see. I'm at, where am I? Where's I'm at 101.25.
101.25.
21, 20.
You know, the remastered version of this that I'm seeing on Netflix is beautiful.
Nice.
I haven't seen it in so
There it
long,
goes.
but the colors and sharpness of this is just gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's a lot
All the
that's
terms. Here you go. Class M right at the beginning. Uh-huh.
There's a lot here that's very similar, and there's a lot here that's different. The uniform. I mean, there's a very different Spock and a very different captain, and a very different first officer, and most of the rest of the crew. But there's a lot here that's so familiar and similar to what we see later on.
The look and feel, yeah.
The look and feel, yeah. The set. it's darker in terms of lighting, but the basics are all right there.
Well, it's monochromatic. They added. Oh, I always loved this. Years later, I'm like, wait, there was like a 60s looking girl and a guy in cutoffs and a girl in a skirt walking through the. Here's your. Speaking of communicators, there's your.
Yeah,
and,
Spock really likes to shout in this version.
Do you know that speaking of Spock's brain a minute ago, that communicator, they took the lid off and painted it a solid color, and that was the controller from Spock's brain.
Oh.
Ah, okay. This was the first day they shot the pilot. This is the first scene they filmed, which blows me away a little bit. I love that brown leather 50s, 60s. I just remember so much about this scene blowing my brain when I realized it. Like, there's his cap. See his cap later on. He has an officer's cap sitting over there. And
Larry,
that's a TV.
give me a time check. I think a lot of folks are...
I'm at 59, 17, 16, 15, 14.
What? What are you at?
I'm on Netflix, and it's counting down at the
Oh,
far
you're counting
side.
down. Okay, how much is...
Yeah, I don't have a positive.
Right, how much is count down?
So right now I'm coming up on 59 minutes left.
59 minutes left. Okay, so if
We're
you're
in
coming
the
up
we're
on...
in the we're in the Pike and Boyce scene right now.
So we're
in
at
his
about
quarters.
4 minutes and 30 seconds into it.
Yeah, I'm sorry guys, I'm reading you what I've got. I'm on Netflix.
No, I think that was helpful.
Oh, Chris, you set standard for yourself no one could meet. You treat everyone on board like a human being except yourself.
You bet I'm tired, Larry. You bet.
203 lives. Just think, in 15 years, it could be 300 and 430 lives. Now, there's been since they've brought the Pike and this era back in Discovery, and people are talking about it again, and people talk about, Jeff Hunter, the actor here, versus Shatner's Kirk.
Yeah.
And one thing that's important to remember is people think about people talk about Jeffrey Hunter's acting, and if they'd kept him, would the show have clicked? Right. Yeah. Even if they'd recast the rest of the cast. And people talk about his acting being a little on the wooden side here, to be blunt about it. And he had other roles. He had a Western he was the lead of called Temple Houston. He played Jesus Christ in a movie. He was in The Searchers with John Wayne. And I think he had more range in those roles. But the thing about this episode is, if you think about it, we see him depressed at the beginning. We're coming into a pilot for a show with the lead character off his game.
Yeah.
And it's real. We don't really see the real Pike like kidding around like the Star Trek Flintstones ending way until the last scene. If you think about the last scene, it's like that's the only real time we see the real Pike.
Well, this episode is sort of a journey to that Pike and kind of him working through some of these issues. Nathaniel makes a great comment here. It bugs me that characters would casually discuss slave trading. And there's a lot here that you go back and you see it through a modern lens. And go ahead, Larry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, these are Earth people out in a galaxy that's wild. It's like they've reset the clock. I mean, when they see alien worlds and they're somewhere between, they don't espouse the Prime Directive in this, but they're kind of giving you the feeling that they're going out and looking around and they've encountered some crazy. I mean, the fact that they're all bipedals and some of them don't even have any bumps on the forehead, but the fact that they're encountering these strange new worlds. I mean, they're not endorsing slavery. They're just talking about it as something that might exist in a way that we understand because they're running around as bipedal humanoids. I mean, that's the oddest thing to me is not the fact they have slavery. It's the fact that they look almost like us and we can even recognize what that would be. But
Zahir says, this guy's much better therapist than Troy. Fight me. Zahir, I'm not going to fight you on that because I kind of agree.
The first piece of foot. Oh, I love this. This is how they go to warp.
Oh, yeah. This warp is really something.
His fingers. He's like, we're going warp 6 or we're going warp 7 in a minute. What are we doing? Well,
I love that we got the theme song.
Yes, we're doing warp 7. Okay.
Yeah.
We're doing time warp factor 7. That's what we're doing. Just think,
So much here that
think
stuck
about how
with
much
us.
this bridge looks like the motion picture bridge in the palette.
Yeah, Larry, it really does. It really does look like the motion picture palette.
That guy had the best part. The blue. See, she's in tan. See, she's not in gold. See their color different?
Right, right. I do like that big collar. That I feel like that's very in now. So Larry, Jeffrey Hunter unfortunately passed away.
Gender issue. President Trump.
Right.
That was the weirdest little smile thing there. Yes, you were saying?
Well, I mean, we could unpack that. What do you think that means? You're different, of course.
That's the creative tension between Gene wanting the crew to be half and half men, women, and they had to be a third, 2/3, and the 1965 audience watching this, or 64, or 1964 studio executives debating how much to let him get away with.
So, I want to mention here, Jeffrey Hunter. He unfortunately passed away right when season 3 of the original series ended.
It was like 69. He fell down some stairs and hurt his head, and then at some point, just soon after that, he had they think that head injury didn't go treated or examined in 1969, and
yeah,
then a few months later, he had some kind of an aneurysm, a neural catastrophe, and died.
Yeah. So he never really got to see.
He never got to do a con? No, he didn't get to do a con.
No, he didn't get to do a con, and he never got to really see Captain Pike, and the love of the character and the fandom, both from this, and then later, get ready for it, the Kelvin timeline, and now in Star Trek Discovery and Brave New Worlds. He never really got to see Captain Pike's legacy.
Oh, yeah. This is when transporters were so clunky it took 2 people to run them all the time.
It took a lot of effort to transport.
1 person per 3 transportees. That's what it is.
But we should say that this is a thing that happens in Star Trek. The first time you see a new technology, it's like a big deal. And this is the very first time anyone is seeing transportation.
Mm-hmm. Well, this kind of transportation.
Yeah.
People had seen big truck drivers and semis for years. Now, here's the thing. It's like I have to remember to say this. They had supposedly done the thing where, see how Jose Tyler's hand has a bandage?
Oh, I missed that.
Well, just rewind real fast. No, I'm kidding. You'll see it in a minute. And Spock is limping. It's supposed to be, the script said that they were showing signs. See how Spock is limping?
Oh, yeah.
His left
I've never
foot.
caught that before.
And, well, here we go. Here's your mini K3. And when you see Jose Tyler, he's got a bandage on his right hand. Because they talk about the fight on Rigel 7, and later on you see him fighting the Kalar warrior.
Maybe
but that was supposed to be leftovers from their big battle, that some of them had been slightly injured.
Maybe that's why Spock is shouting all the time, because he's dealing with this personal injury.
Yeah. And then you Discovery newbies know they brought all this back for
Spock
Captain,
smile.
Yes.
The infamous smile here.
I just want to have Star Trek geologist Fisher. I want to have his show sometime.
I love
the guy.
I love what Cairo says here. A few rocks, a matte painting, classic setup back then, and Libby says,
"I just realized that piece they walked through is the piece they use later for the doorway. Look,
it does look like that.
I never thought about that until just this minute. That's the same piece that they use later with the door in it, but they put it, different arrangement, and they. Oh my God. Okay, and they've got a still going. I'm so glad. Hawkeye and Trapper John would be thrilled.
I do really like these uniforms, Larry.
Well, and they at least had a way jacket. You wouldn't get back to that till a motion picture either. Having a field jacket.
Yeah. United Spaceship Enterprise.
Mm-hmm. And
The time barrier's been broken.
I know what he meant by that. People have debated that for ages. The time barrier and how fast it takes you to warm up dilithia. They're being watched. That calls for a new music theme style. So Sandy Gimple is like the third or fourth Telosian, and she is very much still with us and still a stunt woman. She was like 18 in the original. What's his name? That's Commodore Mendez. Is the voice. And when they did the menagerie, I thought that would be too confusing, so they re-looped it with the new voice. Look, they still know how to roll up pants and tents.
So Larry, Christoph is saying one of the actors of the, how do you say it? The Thalosians?
The Telosians.
The Telosians, thank you. Felix Silla died yesterday. At age 84.
Well, Felix. I always think of Felix Silla as Tweaky on '70s Buck Rogers. BDBD, okay, Buck. But I knew that and I'd forgotten it, and then I saw that again. Yeah, he was like the fifth string Telosian. Yes, we have somebody who's 8 years old over here that we haven't shown you yet. Oh, wait, you mean the 25-year-old. Okay, yeah, let the girl. It's the 60s. Let the girl show you.
Nathaniel's got a great question. Ollie, wouldn't this premise work better with current theories of perception that our experiences of the world are our mind simulations or projections of models that are error tested against our senses, not something we directly sense? Sure. Nathaniel, that is a mind-bending question, a really great question with a very mind-bending episode.
Am I frozen?
Yes, you are, Larry. You've been frozen for a little bit, but I didn't want to push our luck here with all the tech. Oh, folks,
I turned my camera on and off. I just turned my camera on and off.
It's a life support live miracle. We've got the Super S. We've got the Super S. Would it be a live support live anniversary episode if we didn't have that appearing? Thank you, Larry, for that.
What's
This is Larry, this seems to me to be a very expensive pilot.
It was. They went way over budget.
Yeah, I mean, these are a lot of sets. And these, there we have the lasers, not the phasers.
The hand lasers, right.
Easily retconned as the precursors to the phasers. They look pretty good. I like those phasers or lasers. They look pretty good.
Okay. I'm going to leave and come back. I've been trying to play with my camera, but I can't get it to come through to you.
Okay. Just make sure you don't lose your spot on the video.
Oh, no. My video, it is untouched.
Okay. Come back, Larry.
It's right where they're going to see. This music cue is great, too.
The music's great.
And it gradually cools down.
All right. I'm going to kick you out and bring you back in.
I'll be right back.
Aha! The show is mine again, folks. 100% Dr. Ali now. I was just mentioning to Larry, and to you all that, and he's back. All right. Let's see, Larry, if I've,
boom.
Yeah, you're here. You somehow are still frozen.
How did that happen? That's weird.
I don't know. But we hear you.
Turn my camera off and bring my camera back. How the hell is that happening?
I don't know, but of course,
a new
this
one.
is happening.
Just for your anniversary pleasure today. Let me go wide view here just to see what happens if this. Okay, fine. No.
So, yeah, I mean, if we think about, they had to construct the bridge, the corridors, the planet, the uniforms, they had to compose the music. This was a pretty expensive pilot. I can also understand, having done all this work, why they might have greenlit another pilot too, because they built so much stuff here. How much of this planet set was reused for Where No Man Has Gone Before, Larry?
Well, see that arch there. I think that arch became they used that on a few elements inside or the outside of the Ditalix B lithium, not Ditalix, the lithium cracking station. Yeah. So the lead two Telosians are the lead two, and Sandy and Felix are the two in the back.
Larry, Christoph wants to know if you're using a webcam from 1966 in honor of our watch along today.
Okay. Yes. This
Yes, Larry.
left. This is very interesting. Audio visual.
All right, then, telepathy.
And they called me wooden.
When did Planet of the Apes come out, Larry?
68.
Okay, because I'm getting a lot of Planet of the Apes vibes here. The way they're describing his reactions remind me in much the same way as how the apes react to Charlton Heston in Planet of the Apes.
This is just really. I am.
Glenn, you're cracking me up today. Glenn says, I've always wondered if the term butthead was invented by someone seeing the backs of the Thelosian's head for the first time.
What I love about this is all the gear, the props they find. People have since found where they rented these things from or modified them. You know, this 50s, 60s, push buttons, and they did it because they had a limited budget, so they were renting a lot of things. They built the hand phasers, or the hand lasers, but so this wasn't. So Matt Jeffries designed the bridge, but he didn't design the other sets. Pedro Guzman, who was the Desilu overseeing art director, it was Lucy's art director for sets of the week for for Lucy show. So all these rooms that are kind of like round and vague went away. These individual, when you have the master shot, it's like they're all in their own little bubble dome. So I've come in and out of. Maybe if I try now.
Try turning on. Is your video on, Larry?
It wasn't then, but I've been going back and forth. The first two times I left, you never stopped, which made me. And then that last time,
I love this illustration.
Oh yeah. What this ship is, though it were a fly.
Well, and here too, Larry, we've got the classic Star Trek briefing right here.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's all here. Yeah.
Let's think it through. Let's use our minds to try to solve this problem.
See that ceiling grid? Yeah.
And I really love number one in this. I love number one's approach to trying to solve this problem. In some ways, the cage is so far ahead of its time in terms of everything else that was in this whole era.
Well, they did it. He did it the way he wanted to do. They did it on a budget, but still the whole point was they had to impress NBC to get picked up as a show. But the Desilu board were terrified that trying to do a Star Trek would bankrupt them every week. That this crazy young producer guy that kind of mumbled along was not going to, that they didn't have enough experience to be able to pull some, or this would be cool, but the weekly shows would pale in comparison, and it would get canceled because it couldn't hope to do this every week. So they had to show that the second pilot gave them a chance to show a little bit more containment, and they were amortized. They'd already built most of the sets, although, they redid a lot. Anyway, they had the bridge, and all the other sets got redone, the sick bay set. But, yeah. But that was the fear that this looks like a motion. They said, my God, this looks like a mini movie.
Yeah.
And when you're bopping in and out of her fantasies like this, it was.
So, historically, evolution has favored animals that have very big teeth and can eat a lot of things, and large animals like lions and sharks and all that sort of stuff. But more recently, with humans, evolution has very much favored big brains. And if you have a big brain, you don't really need big teeth as much. And we kind of see that here in this episode with the Thelosians. They have very, very, very big brains. And as a result, they can be much smaller in size and much less physically threatening.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're back, Larry.
Oh, that was okay. I just kept banging buttons until, something happened. And Susan Oliver, the guy, he's my friend now. I didn't know him until he worked on but did the Susan Oliver, The Green Girl, did a biography documentary about her life, which was way overdue. She was like for 20 years in Hollywood, she was like guest star of the week girl, and she did everything. And it really played into the Vina here because she is everything here. She's the dancing slave girl, and somebody said like she doesn't really do an evocative like dance. She does an actress doing a dance, and she sells it. Dum, 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 dum. This sounds so lost and spacey right here.
It does.
That blaring
Well, the fighting style is I see a bit of Kirk there.
Yep.
But the score is really good, Larry. This is the production quality on this episode. This is a very expensive episode.
This was a found set. This was a location. I'm trying to think which one it was. I get this one and the fort from the arena mixed up.
Melanie says, I love the castle, same as in Requiem for Methuselah.
Well, the matte painting was originally reused for Requiem for Methuselah, yeah. And then the remastered, they gave Flint's castle his own painting.
And Ian says Susan Oliver was even in a Twilight Zone episode that was very similar to this.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Good throw, man. This Netflix with the earbud, I'm hearing a track of the soundtrack like I'm not used to hearing.
Ian says, this is my favorite of the 6 Courage scores he did for the show. 2 Pilots, Man Trap, Naked Time, Enterprise Incident, Plato's Stepchildren. Yeah. This looks so good with the HD remaster. The colors and the sharpness here. It's just, you can really tell how much effort was put into this pilot. Larry, I'm guessing you. When did you first see this?
I saw it when I never got to see Gene at a college talk or anything like that. So the first time I saw this was when my Columbia House tape arrived with 2 episodes on a tape. And that was the first way it was released. The first time I saw it was on the tape. And then
Yeah.
the special with it came out like right about the same time or right after.
I'm thinking I must have. Do you know if they showed this with Star Trek Special Edition on Sci-Fi Channel? I'm guessing I must have seen it there. I saw it with the Menagerie, obviously, before I saw this.
Oh, well, right. Well, we saw the gist
Yeah.
of the story in the minute. I thought you meant the intact episode.
No, I meant the cage as beginning to end. I'm just trying to put my head in around what it must have been like to see this for the first time after you've seen the original series and to see what could have been and a very different vision of Star
Well-
Trek. It must have been quite a moment.
The first time I saw this intact was going in and out of black and white in color.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of so you instantly knew if it was black and white film, it was if it was black and white film, it was what had been taken. Like this scene is in the Menagerie, so you saw it and you knew it, but it was in color. But that intact reel, everything new that had been lost, quote unquote, lost because they trimmed it, and they'd used the color in Menagerie. The black and white was everything had been lost. So the minute it was a black and white scene, like the original, teaser at the beginning was all in black and white, and then it would phase into color, and it was just bizarre. This is amazing. There's look at Sarek's, not Sarek, Sargon and Thalassa.
I love the safety goggles.
When you're reading the memos, they kept sending this back to the lab because he was trying to spell out how he wanted the colors to look in the beam and all this stuff. It's like they would not get it the way he wanted, and they kept sending it back and sending it back and sending it back. This line. Can you give us any more? It's the warp drive going into warp effect.
It is a warp drive sound.
Here she goes. I'm going to be the doctor here and rub my jaw. Okay.
Yeah, Phil says the first time I saw it was at the 20th anniversary in Disneyland Hotel. It was Gene's black and white personal 16 millimeter film. I think, if I remember correctly, Larry,
which would have been 86.
The original color, one of the original color reels was found in the late 80s, I believe.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they released it in the black and white color version on tape, and like within 2 years, they found an intact color reel.
Yeah.
So it's like they did that, and then very quickly got that out instead. So that's why I hung onto that original, because I wanted the copy where it went back and forth. It was an artifact. And you notice that her dress is made out of the same material that the other Telosian's gowns are.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
Oh.
That's a great
Sometimes
detail.
it's so easy to K3 you. I don't even know why I bothered to research it. But that's what's so great about right now. And like thinking we've got so many, younger and newer fans coming in. It's like
support life again. Hey, 2 out of 3 words from the show.
We could have just made that our title.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Support Life Again. During a pandemic, it still fits. This is bugging me now. She is so good. she played like younger girls, older women, mean, like bitchy women, totally girl next door types. She played mentally ill characters. She was just amazing, and she worked for like from the 50s to the 70s. She had a million guests. She got screwed. She had a movie contract and was in maybe Butterfield 8 with Elizabeth Taylor and shared scenes with her. But she wanted to go do a play, and Jack Warner still ran Warner Brothers, and it was still the old studio system in the late 50s. And he's like, "Don't you go to New York? You're under contract." And she goes, "I've got to go do this." And she went, and he broke her contract and like blacklisted her in the studios. So all she could do was TV work. And so she did a ton of it, and she was really good. But she never got her due in movies because the old studio system. And she crossed him, and so he's like, "Well, you'll never work in this town again." So she did billions and billions of Star Trek guest roles.
So I was half listening to you, half watching, and half
Yes.
counselors logging in my head. And
hostage mentality? What did we talk about?
what I've come up with here, Larry, is now stand by for a little counselors logging.
Okay, you're due.
Let's play out this story. These people are trapped in the same place, and the way they are experiencing life is through bringing things in and experiencing emotions by watching and experiencing their reaction. Does that sound familiar? People who are trapped.
You talk about the Telosians
Yes.
are enduring their underground
Yes.
life.
Like, does this sound familiar to us? Being stuck, not being able to go out because of the environment, because of what's happened outside. And the only way you are experiencing new things is by watching and reacting to them.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds a little 2020 to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you could even go wider than 2020 and say that, is this, mass media? Is it TV generation? Is it gamer generation? Is it...
Right. And so there is that layer of commentary there about...
and the pandemic is just compacted. It's just
right.
Against.
Yeah, there's also a sense of something we talked about with our First Contact episode. I forget if it was our First Contact Day or our First Contact watch along, but when you do come in contact with other life, would you treat them with the dignity that you would each other and people of your own species? Like, do they see Pike and humans as worthy of the same rights and privileges that they have themselves?
They don't in the beginning.
No, they don't in the beginning.
That's the point of the show. Not until they look at their history, things. But the fact that there are other species in the tank. And Janos Prohaska, though, is the bird. They weren't that great, but you see he's the Birdman that's down there with another costume. But but the fact that these are like communicating, I guess the point is the Telosians are so advanced with telepathy that the fact that they're communicating versus other species that don't even sentiently communicate verbally or telepathically or otherwise. But that's what he says. We're as far below them as a fly is to us.
Yeah. And Len's got a interesting comment here. My college roommate didn't like that Pike on fire scene as opposed to Shatner, since he looked like he was actually suffering. And that's overall view of this episode. It is a bit more serious and not as lighthearted. And I think part of that is because where Pike is in the beginning, but part of that is very much the direction here. This is playing out as a much more serious drama than your average episode of the original series. I'm liking Pike's outfit here. I want that outfit, Larry.
Bang!
It's a great
sure is.
denim.
Well, you know, maybe if we can sell enough glasses, we can add that to the Life Support Live store.
Horses, captains and their horses, Larry. We this seems to be a theme.
People forget about Tango. Now, I have you have to know the script since it's not in the dialogue that survives.
Cairo says a story about how TV addiction is bad with a woman in command for most of the episode. I wonder why TV execs didn't want to buy it. Yeah, 1960s, different era.
Well, and then when they did give him the chance, you got Gothic Janeway, and you got Pioneer Janeway, and you got Irish Town Janeway, and
Irish Town Janeway. Now, Larry, speaking of Janeway, everyone talks about Janeway's coffee mug. Why not Pike's thermos?
Thermos?
Yeah, it's a nice thermos. And Pike is looking dashingly handsome in that Life Support Live blue right there.
Mm-hmm. Two-tone Life Support Live.
Tim's asking, is my camera a mirror image? It is not. This is the right way, but yes, my badge is on the wrong side, Tim, because my mic is covering that spot.
He wanted to make sure you're Tim.
Ian says, I think Loxana Troy would sympathize with the Losians. I know she would definitely empathize with them.
Here's a great
and she might sympathize actually because of her empathic abilities. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So here's a great piece of trivia, and I fell over the day I learned this about 8 or 10 years ago. There's 2 horses over there. They each have a horse. His name is Tango. On Mojave, his horse is Tango. Do you know what her horse's name is?
No.
Mary Lou.
Huh.
It's in the script. They don't say it, but oh no. Oops. Okay.
So he was born in the Mojave Desert?
That's his town anyway. They say
Mojave.
Mojave's his hometown or his birthday. People just use that as. They do a good job there of that they're not on a flat set, but when you see the stage pictures, it's like
the depth of these sets, even though they're paintings and we all know that, there's a lot of depth to these sets, actually more so than I think I see in most original series episodes.
The episode, week to week.
Yeah, this is like phenomenal production quality. The structure in the background does look like the LA airport, Phil. You're right about that.
It got that was reused too. I've gone blank on where they reused that later for. I didn't. In case you hadn't noticed, I didn't. Some things are easy to. I just know them, and some I know. I know that I know, but I don't know, and somebody will pop it in. But that matte painting, it's not even a matte painting. It's a backdrop. It's like an old 40s Paramount style, painted backdrop. It's live. That was reused for something else. I'm trying to remember what that, because it's very vague and you barely see it. Like the Skolosian City was the same as one of the star bases.
So they can't read through primitive emotions, and what I'm going to take through that is very powerful emotions. There's some interesting messages here about like this analytical disconnection, being kind of lost in thought and not so much in touch with your emotions. There's also an interesting.
Sorry, I just realized there's a straw hat on their picnic blanket.
Oh.
You're talking about emotions and mood, and I went, there's a hat. Okay. Anyway.
Well, so, I mean, the show is, it's got something to say here about the role of emotions. And I was going somewhere with this, and now I totally forgot.
Sorry, I blew you up.
No, it's all good.
You were talking about how primal emotions, they couldn't read through them, and how primal emotions were being equated with stronger emotions. And
yeah, I think this is this is sort of a message we see throughout the original series is the importance of logic and thought as epitomized by Spock, and also like the role of strong, powerful emotions, as we often see with Bones, and the role Kirk plays in sort of bringing balance to both of those. And I never really realized, but that those themes start right here with this pilot. And there's also, we keep seeing this theme of slavery. It was mentioned at the beginning of the episode, and now Pike feels enslaved, and now we have a Orion slave woman, which is beautifully retconned later on in Star Trek Enterprise as like they're actually the ones in command of the society. I always thought that was really interesting, but enslavement is something that is clearly a theme here, Larry. Where was Gene going here with this?
Dress uniform. It took me years to realize that's like the dress uniform of the
They
time.
have three, they created 3 different uniforms. You got the duty uniforms, you got the away mission field jackets, and now dress uniforms.
That was a landing party field jacket.
There is the landing party field. There's high production value
away
here.
mission is a 24th century term.
So Larry, what did Gene want to say with this episode?
How much can I get away with? That's what he's trying to say here. Seriously, this was him envelope for 1964. There were actually 2 other Orion girls made up as servers, and they got cut. You see them in pictures. And look, it's unreal. And the music cue stops. And they changed that.
Jamal's got a great way to summarize this. Logic's hard edge softened by emotion, emotion restrained and focused by logic. It's really about bringing balance to the two. In dialectical behavior therapy, we have an idea called the wise mind, which is when we really integrate our rational side and our emotional side. And I think that is what part of the theme here is, finding the wisdom in both paths here. Reliance on too much of one can lead to problems.
Watch the doorway when they go through. See, it's this transporter room on the side. A big. Now, coming up here is a line of dialogue that I always thought would be a great name for a podcast or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? That guy never put the box down. He just walks around all day long with that thing on his back. Here it comes. Here it comes. I'm shocked that no one has ever used this as a title for anything. The women!
Spock.
Spock reacts.
Spock, yeah. They don't work.
We all have our lines.
I really like those communicators.
She has the communicator heft there, now that I think about it.
Well, and I think there's also a message there about how anger can blind us to logic as well, especially rage. And,
well, yeah. Blind fury, blind rage, yeah.
Yeah. How we can often do things that don't make a lot of sense when we're so angry and enraged.
And she's still with us.
Yeah, folks are talking about Women at Warp, which is a lovely podcast here.
Mhm.
I agree, Christina. So if I remember how this episode pans out, they want a bunch of human offspring so that they can continue to have this exploration of emotion and life.
Yeah. And I want to, and I've been bad about watching chat because I'm watching a show, but hello, Len Wisniewski and Ian. They both, as soon as I said the women, it should be used for a title. There was a movie and they both went, the women. And then Ian even said 1939 George Cukor. But I think there should be a modern day podcast named The Women. And Women at Warp is awesome. It's a sister Roddenberry podcast. Oh,
Yeah.
Phil has a great line here. The women's jackets have Velcro on the opposite side of the men's, just
Yeah.
like a button rope. I had not realized
And
that.
Rebecca says women's clothing's always fastened on the opposite side to men's. Something I learned once I had my daughter, and I was buttoning up her shirts, and I'm like, this is different.
I never had to. I remember I was at a trivia thing somewhere, and somebody said, "What color is number one's fingernails?" And I went, "Who notices that?" And then of course, all the women fans are going to notice. But that scene right there, you could like right in your face. It's like a dark purple black.
I do like all the little lamps they have on all the consoles.
And here's your thing: Spock is definitely the second officer.
Yeah.
In his tan shirt.
Prepare for hyperdrive. Time warp factor.
Without the aid of any audio effects at all.
Yeah, and getting back to Nathaniel's question, there's a lot in this episode. I mean, this episode is also making us sort of question our sense of reality and how much of our sense of reality is completely based upon what we see and how much of that can be manipulated. So, like, how far down that message do you want to get to, and whether it's about your view of the world is manipulated by the media that you consume? Like, here's another 2020, 2016 message about how much media can warp, some might say time warp, our sense of reality.
That's a factor to consider, yes.
It is a factor. Some might say a K3 factor.
Yeah, some might.
Tim says we can thank T'Pol's grandmother for the Velcro jacket fasteners.
Right.
Charlotte's saying men and boys' clothes are also usually better made and more durable. Charlotte, I completely agree. We often buy boys' clothing for our daughter just because it is a stronger material, and it also has pockets. My daughter loves having pockets. She loves to go outside, pick up sticks and rocks and put them in her pockets. And most girls' clothing does not have pockets, as a lot of women's clothing doesn't have pockets. Not cool. Not cool at all.
I love how the astrogator disc is out. These are all illustrations from the World Book Encyclopedia.
Rebecca says, my new dress criteria is having pockets. My wife would agree with that.
This is what my wife said years ago. She took fashion design for a little bit, and she was going to have a line that had pockets.
almost another idea here. This episode's loaded with morals, meanings, and messages that our friends at Mission Log would say.
Yep.
Can we not understand anger and rage? Is there no logic to it, Larry? Does it just not make sense?
Well, sometimes there's a rational reason why somebody would be angry, but yeah, that's the realm of the irrational. That's why, the whole thing about people on, what's it, temporary insanity as a defense in crime. And people say it just doesn't make sense. I'm like, no, it doesn't make sense. That's the definition of irrational. It didn't make sense. It was
not rational. Yeah, I mean, anger and outrage always makes sense when your goal is being blocked, when yourself or communities or people you care about, there's an injustice happening to them. There's been a lot of that in the United States this week. There's a lot of reason why so many of us are outraged and just exhausted from all this anger of things that have been happening in the United States, police brutality and killings and mass murders. It's a tough time to be an American right now. But for those reasons, anger and outrage always makes sense, and there is a logic to it. It is about being consistently blocked, injustice, life being put in danger, rules being broken, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that whole thing about, what do we do? We should have a topic or two on this sometime about anger and all that, because a lot of times it's usually looked at as a negative, and you have whole cultures, like we make fun of Jane Austen, England and all those for being overly polite, and people are good old Vulcans suppressing the extreme emotions, but they're cleansing and they're typical, and they come up. And I just saw a top detail that I'd never seen before on a laser gun. Yeah, that whole dimension of, of anger is so bad. It's the unpredictability in an individual people, or I guess, or a mob. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, and most of the time, anger isn't helpful or healthy, but sometimes it is. It's all on what you do with it.
Yeah, and anger is harder for some people than others, especially if you've experienced trauma. Anger is going to be a harder one. Glinda has a great comment that the Losians don't understand passion. Their take on finding a mate focus on reproduction, not love.
Oh, the wall wobbled.
And Ian says, I love how Spock has the same role in this as TNG Season 1 Worf. Yeah.
The what are those called? The bladders. That's what they call those when they have air things. Somebody down below is like pushing a bulb, or she's pushing her own bulb off camera.
Nathaniel's got a great comment here. Pike, though, is choosing to be angry, and I think sometimes people confronting injustice must choose to take a radically oppositional stance in order to oppose it. Yes, Nathaniel, and
that's what frog in a pot syndrome on steroids. It's like sometimes you get too comfortable and you're not angry enough for your own good.
Yeah, one of the things we know about anger, it is one of the most effective ways at snapping yourself out of your daily routine and getting other people to change their, to break with their routines and to do something. Anger, for better and worse, quickly mobilizes, and it gets people to act and to do things. And it's that power of making people angry can be used for good purposes, and it can be used to overcome injustices. It also can be used for very nefarious purposes. It can be used to persecute other people and to keep other people down. And we know one of the quickest ways to get people angry is to make them feel like their status is being challenged, whether or not it actually is or not. And I think that kind of summarizes a lot of the conflicts we've experienced in America recently. Victoria says, and Larry, I think you'll agree, I find that I'm missing McCoy.
Well, yeah, and John Hoyt was a great actor, but the whole point of this was, and Gene wanted Dee early, but if they were looking at a ensemble and the most successful ensemble in TV for a long time, for several years by now, had been Gunsmoke, and they were really looking at the Doctor in Star Trek as like a Doc Adams from, the older mentor to the younger lead, and then the sidekick. And that's the kind of triangle they were thinking. It's very Western-y oriented. And finally, it was like having them all be kind of more contemporaries, although McCoy is 5-10 years older than Kirk. But having it be that much difference was kind of, and it was both pilots were the same way. And this thing was amazing. Look at the time lapse they actually did for that. I mean, I remember being a kid and going, well, this is old cinema, but it's still amazing for what they did on there.
It's a great effect.
Yeah.
Well, and it's something, I think it's also saying something here about how much we equate beauty with youth, especially for women, in many cultures. And looking at it from a 2021 lens, I think that idea is still here and it's still perpetuated by media that women's worth is associated with youth and beauty, and that continues to be a theme that we're stuck with in media. And
is there in youth no beauty?
Tim also says, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. Which is one of my least favorite Yoda quotes, because no, fear doesn't lead to anger necessarily. Fear usually leads to avoidance.
Yeah.
And Charlotte also says, anger is my go-to emotions. One of the reasons why I relate to B'Elanna Torres so much. When you're a girl and you're not supposed to be angry, B'Elanna's struggle with her Klingon side is very much like the struggle I have with my anger as a woman. Charlotte, thank you so much for saying that. And I think that's something that is hard for a lot of people who identify as a woman. A man who's being angry is often seen as being assertive. A woman who's being angry is often seen as a problem that needs to be managed.
His assistant lost his glasses for this last scene. I guess they weren't paying attention closely for it. They were on automatic. I just realized.
So, are we going to see Dr. Bryce in Strange New Worlds? Are we going to see this whole crew?
Boyce,
Dr. Boyce.
Yeah, that's a question out there. I'm kind of thinking maybe there's an African American actor cast who's older than the kids, and there's some speculation that maybe that's Dr. Mabenga, who might have been young enough to be young here 15 years before you saw him, and and he didn't have to be on the Enterprise the whole time. He might have come and gone and been around, but if he had to have come and gone, or else he would have been more involved with Spock's.
Victoria's comments making me chuckle here. I call this type of TOS music, oh, look, it's a girl. There is a lot of that. It's like going on and then...
And I think Tyler's lost his bandage by now. Look, it's the goofy Star Trek ending. We're gonna make double entendre looks here. It's the Doctor gonna lean on the arm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah. But look how low the chair is to where it is later. The chair is not on its own little mini platform. He had to lean over to lean on the chair arm.
Hey, we got our music.
Engage. See, engage was Pike's line before it was Picard's line. That whole thing about Pike looking for what did he say? Punch it or hit it?
I think he said punch it and hit it.
Yeah.
I think he said both, depending on Kelvin or Prime.
Cheapest planet flyaway shot ever. Compared to that, yeah.
And Cairo says, and now we've got TOS sad music.
That's good. Hey guys, I've been watching the show and trying to pay attention to Ali, so I
Written and produced by Gene Roddenberry. Yeah, I like Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Spock.
John Hoyt as Dr. Boyce. Peter Duryea as Lauren Goodwin. She's still with us.
And that is The Cage.
That's a pilot. See, they didn't need a billion. They didn't have a billion credits because it wasn't for broadcast. It was, and here we have all the. It was just to show execs in a screening room, and they didn't bother to, it never had to need titles for broadcast, so they didn't do that.
Tim says Captain Pike said engage a full 100 years before Picard. Does Kirk say engage much?
He might say it a couple of times.
Yeah, but it was really not much of a Kirk thing.
I can hear him saying it Kirkily, like engage.
No, yeah, there's so all the blueprint. It's all right there, Larry. Much like our first episode, the blueprint has been right there, and a lot has changed.
Yeah,
a lot's changed. A lot hasn't changed, but revisiting that first episode, we see all the things that make Star Trek so great. The morals, the meanings, the messages, the themes, the away mission, the
Hey,
aliens.
you say that again, we're going to get sued. So
I know. Oh, man. John Champion, please ignore my trademark
happy belated
complaints.
Birthday to John. John's birthday was yesterday.
Yeah, happy birthday, John. If folks don't know, Mission Log is one of the Roddenberry podcasts, along with Women at Warp, along with the Trek Files.
Thank you.
I know.
I was going to say.
Okay. Yeah.
I can hold up a sign if you want me to, but I thought you had.
Zahir says early on they did the same thing with Worf. He was Mr. Worf and not Lieutenant or Commander Data too. Yeah.
It's like Mr. Like Mr. Data. Mr. Odo, I don't think though was ever catching on.
No, Mr. Odo.
Mr. Neelix. Well, I mean, part of it is
Neelix.
like Neelix didn't have a rank, so okay, but yeah.
Yeah.
The alien got called Mr. That's I hadn't really thought about that, but it was there, but yeah. The examined.
So Larry, let's open up the hailing frequencies here.
Trying to catch up with it. Hey, everybody, I want to say, it looks like we've got a lot of folks that have been with us. We didn't promote this big time, so as much as we should have. So it's really cool to see so many of you with us and came by. Maybe you've been in the audience over the year several times, but you weren't a regular, and that's cool. But it's so good to see a lot of you, I think, came by for our anniversary, so I really appreciate that. I know it's probably like you have no access to see the cage, so that's really why you were here, but it's good to see so many familiar names and a lot of folks that maybe we've just seen a couple times. So I wanted to throw that out there. And so a lot of you have been talking up a storm, which is awesome, just because I haven't got to react to it.
Libby says, I don't think Odo would approve of Mr. And Charlotte says he would undoubtedly harumph, then mumble,
yes.
Mr.
Yeah. Constable is just fine.
Yeah.
Although I forget, what was the fill-in for O'Brien for Column a couple of times? The lieutenant that was the lieutenant that was there a couple of times, and that one time the ops, and he goes, Constable Odo, and I just wanted. That's like he should have just shot him right then. If he really. I'll never will forget the guy. Constable Odo.
And Libby says, that harumphing and mumble would only encourage Quark to use it. I totally see that. Well, are the actually speaking of that, are the founders, are they gendered? I don't know if they're gendered. I don't think they're gendered.
Well, see, when they first showed them, the reason that the what's her name's recurring role, I've just gone blank. She played the Chase Emmett. She was always called the female changeling. It was an actress playing her. But the role just got dubbed that because in the beginning, in the search, when Odo and Kira are on the little outcrop, and they first time they see changelings and they meet them, there's a man and a woman, and they both are a male and a female changeling, and they both come out of the ooze, and they both have lines, but of the two of them to go forward, they just kept the female changeling and not. So the first time you see them in the script, it says male changeling, and so yeah, they are gendered at least. They are script wise.
Do they mention that in the show?
It's just weird that the man stayed because I guess they thought the woman would be an interesting, villain foil.
Do they? Is that mentioned in the show? I know it's in the script.
Like, did they say founders are gendered, Captain?
Well, no. Did they say female changeling?
No, they never call her the female. Nobody ever.
Do they use pronouns?
Maybe somebody down deep in a thing somewhere inside, not to her face.
Do they use gendered? Do they use gendered pronouns? Now I'm not remembering here.
I haven't thought. Maybe somebody's going to jump in and scream at us. Of course they did.
Yeah, I mean,
Nathan has always referred to that to the writers and the creative team. Always thought, and when she's billed, it's female changeling.
Yeah, Nathaniel says they don't have sex, but they do seem to have gender or some concepts that they can act upon. It's
all make ends. Good Lord,
it's something we should.
I couldn't think of her name. Okay.
Yeah, it's something we should come back to.
I haven't been around conventions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Okay.
Getting back to the cage here, Larry. So what we just watched was rejected by the executives. And so what were the instructions for what was Gene told to do next?
So they said, okay, since you paid for all those sets, it'll be a lot cheaper to do the second. And it was cheaper, but they still went over budget. But because they had to go in and put all the red in the set for the bridge. No, so they said, okay, they were happy with Jeff Hunter as Pike. They did not like Majel Barrett as number one, and for billions of years, Gene very famously, and they didn't like Spock having the pointed ears because they were worried about
the
offending,
devil stuff.
Fundamentalists in the South and losing stations and all that. And they really didn't think that there was a lot of chemistry in the cast all the way around. And I'm trying to remember if they didn't like John Hoyt here, or if that was a Gene, or he didn't want to do a series, or sometimes they don't. Speaking of Jeff Hunter, when they had this screening for the studio and the network, and they showed it off in March '65 or so, it was supposed to be him. That you saw the only leads ahead of the credits. This is antiquated TV for one thing. I mean, if you watch the original series, it's only Shatner and Nimoy that have opening leads in the first, and then Dee got bumped up to opening credit. What that meant was they were the only ones to get residuals. When they say above the line in TV, it's like opening credits and end credits. And if your name is in the opening credits, you get residuals. If you're in the bottom in the end titles, you don't. And that's why it's really, and I think that's all still very true, even though in the streaming era, there's 82 different names in the front. The people laugh about all the executive producers now. But in the old days, you would let's say you had a junior writer who was like a staff writer, and then the junior titles are at the back. And then as they get bumped up, as they go up the ladder of writing titles, it's almost like a teacher on her year to year, if they don't get fired or let go or they leave, eventually they get to a junior, associate producer or a co-producer title, and they jump to the front, which suddenly means that now they're not just getting paid for their scripts and a staff salary, they're getting residuals. So it's always like a big celebration when or technical producers are at the back end, when they get bumped to the front, that's a big cause for celebration. But here, that wasn't always the case in the 60s. So you see Jimmy Doohan and Nichelle and George and Walter and Majel are always at the back, even though they would get guarantees for so many out of 13. He's going to get 10 out of 13, or no, we're guaranteeing at least one day's work on all 13 episodes or something. You look at their contracts, and sometimes they're just like a little contract memo for that, or a handshake deal. But in the 60s, this pilot, it's just a pilot, and they sign contracts for if this pilot actually goes, I'm stuck with this contract. They get them up front that way because no one thinks it's going to go. But here you only had Jeff Hunter and Susan Oliver as the guest star up front. Like they only had the clout, to negotiate that. Everybody else, all the other regulars that would maybe be in the series were at the end, which was typical. But a pilot was really like they didn't even have end titles, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, Jeff Hunter, his wife came to the screening and said, my husband is a movie star, not a TV star, and he's concentrating on movies, which part of the reason he did this in the first place was he'd had a burst in movies and it was starting to go a little chill. And he did a TV series and then he did this. And then I think he and his wife or whatever, his manager's like, okay, his series was canceled after a year. He was like a cowboy detective or whatever. I forget the gist of it, but it's like his TV career was going nowhere either. And this looked like it was going to be too weird for him, maybe. Or his wife is going, you need to just get back out and be a leading man in pictures again before you get any older. But they decided that this was not for him. And so his life went back to what he was. And they had to recast the captain. And there you go.
And there we go.
Yeah.
Just to circle back, Victoria says, in the Great River episode, Wei Yun refers to her as the female changeling. So, yeah,
I knew there was at least, but it wasn't like to her face. I bet it was like in sidebar conversation.
Yeah, I think it was with Odo in the runabout or whatever it was. And then Charlotte has a great question here. Are the Q gendered? They can technically appear as anything as well. And says Q teases Picard that he should have appeared to him as a woman after seeing his lover spat with Vosh.
Well, on one hand, you go, yeah, what's real with them and what's
right?
Actual?
What if anything is real?
But I mean, he has Mrs. Q, and they have. Remember, he says we don't have offspring, and then they did, and the Q weren't used to having kids, and Susie Plaxton plays Mrs. Q, and they have to get together. So
it's confusing. The Q
and
continuum
then what? How much of that is a picture they put on for the mere humans?
Yeah, I think the Q they're all like some kind of weird Time Lord, super creature, super omnipotent being people. I don't know. Who knows?
The ones that don't wear the Greco-Roman gowns or the medieval robes.
Right.
Yeah. Take your pick, original series folks. Take your pick.
Oh, man. Well, Larry, this has been a ton of fun to celebrate our 1-year anniversary together here, you and me, and with the community, and also just all the lovely messages we've received this week, including today with the lovely video.
Yeah,
that Jared
you guys,
put together.
Video was just incredible.
It's great, and who knows where life is going to take us with season 2 of Life Support Live that we're starting here today. Larry, until that point, let's kind of start wrapping down by thanking Scott and Jared again for everything they do for this show.
Jared, who said, "I am not sneaking in and watching from Vaccine Central. I am not."
And what's going on in Trekland this week?
Well, what's going on in Trekland? This is nothing for the public, but we are making a huge effort to get back working on. Just some of you know this, some of you don't know because I haven't mentioned it much the last couple of years. But my editor and I are back working. I say full time, as much full time as we can, on The Con of Wrath, my documentary that we basically stopped filming and then have been the post production. It's a small production. It's just us. And but we're back gearing up to get back and get it done in the next year, so that's exciting. But otherwise, hey, it's all my regular places, LarryNemichuk.com. But Tuesdays, if you enjoy our banter here, just imagine half of that. If it's only half as good, it must be still great. And that's Trekland Tuesdays Live. But I have our Tuesday community, which is a lot of you all there. And it's like this show. It's archived also on YouTube and Facebook. But where you're watching right now, you can see 1 p.m. Pacific Tuesdays, 4 Eastern. Life Support Live, where I have a topic, and then we do chat, and I look at the TV streaming ratings from around the country. And then the Trek Files comes out every Tuesday. It's a podcast from Roddenberry that you were kind enough to mention. And this last week we had Yvonne Harrison Solo. She's changed her name. I keep going to her old name. But no, Dr. Harrison Solo was married to Herb Solo, the guy that bought Gene's idea and helped co-produce the show the first year or so. Worked on this pilot that we just saw extensively, and the next one, and the first season. and wrote a book with Bob Justman about the inside story of Star Trek. He died just last year, but he had been aging. She's our guest. Harrison wrote a book about Gene in the 90s and met Herb that way, and then they had a great life, but they were kind of out of the Star Trek light, and she's kind of re-entering the Star Trek world that she hasn't really been part of since the 90s. So she's our guest this week on the Trek Files. So anyway, that's plenty. I just want to mention that we are a podcast, if you all didn't know that. Also,
yeah, folks. If you aren't aware, if you don't subscribe, subscribe to the Life Support Live podcast. Leave us a review. Tell your friends. That'll help more people to discover the show. So many wonderful people here. Everyone's been saying their thanks and congratulations in the chat. So thank you for that. Larry, I gotta say, like,
how about
if
you,
today,
Ollie? How about you? Where are people
I've got some stuff before I share my stuff. I just want to say, if this is, as Charlotte says, happy life anniversary. If this is Life Support Live Anniversary Day, is this Life Day? Are we crossing the streams again? Is this?
We've been doing it all day long, so I guess
we've been doing it all day long. Yeah. So, folks, I've got some stuff cooking in the Psych Show. So, as Larry said, if you enjoy this, you can get half of this over at the Psych Show on YouTube, where I have a new episode that just came out. I've rebooted my call-in show format. I call it Office Hours. It's an opportunity for me to talk with all of you and kind of talk through questions you have about psychology, mental health. And so I have a bunch of episodes that I recorded right before the pandemic came out, and then I never released them because the pandemic happened and my advice was no longer possible because of the pandemic. But we're in a different state now, so I'm actually releasing those episodes now. And I'm working with my editor, who I just hired, who she is helping me her name's Diana Chang, and she is helping me to get caught up and get these episodes out there. So last week's episode, How to Stop Worrying About the Future, just dropped on Thursday. Next week's episode that's coming out is it's me playing Never Have I Ever and answering your questions that you all gave me a year ago, and just now releasing that video. And I record my Office Hours live on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, I think 7 o'clock British Summer Mean Time. Not Summer Mean Time, just British
Summer Nice Time.
Summer Nice Time, yeah. So if you want to join the not the Life Support Hour Lives, the Psych Show Office Hours Lives, join my Discord where we have those conversations on Thursdays. And Larry, we're going to be back. Episode 2 of Season 2 of Life Support Live is coming at you next week.
Yep.
Here, wherever you're watching this, on Saturday. I don't know what we're talking about, but it's going to be good. It's going to be
We'll
fun.
get one. Hey,
Yeah.
if you want to know what's going on, we have this great community. Come over and like our Facebook page.
Yes.
We also have the Discord channel going. We need to baby steps that along too. But for especially our Facebook page right now is we put polls up there and we do fun stuff up there, and we're gonna grow the Discord too. Are we into the happy music? Into the sad music?
Yeah,
Okay.
I played it twice. We are definitely at the
Remember,
end.
I can't.
I know, you can't hear. Bye, folks. Thank you for being here, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Live
Trek
long
well,
and
everybody.
prosper.